When you build an IKEA bookshelf, the manual you follow is, it's pretty dry.
Oh, absolutely. Very linear.
Yeah, and incredibly low stakes. Like if you skip a step, maybe you end up with a wobbly shelf.
Right, maybe a few extra screws left over.
Exactly. But when you open a state driver's handbook, you aren't just looking at assembly instructions. You're staring down this dense legal document that's intricately woven together with basically a physics textbook.
Yeah, it really is.
And the stakes are literal life and death.
It forces a massive cognitive shift. I mean, you're transitioning from simply operating a piece of machinery to really understanding your precise legal and, well, physical boundaries
Right.
in a high-speed dynamic public space. It demands a level of spatial awareness and legal memorization that most of us rarely use in our day-to-day lives.
Which is exactly why we are bypassing the basic fluff today in this deep dive.
We don't have time for the common sense stuff.
No, we don't. We are looking directly at the July 2025 Idaho Driver's Handbook that you provided, and our sole mission is to extract the absolute highest yield material to get you ready for your test.
That's the goal.
Okay, let's unpack this. We are focusing strictly on the tricky numbers, the complex road signs, and the specific test day scenarios that always trip people up. We're building you a custom audio study guide.
Because the real trick is to filter out the administrative noise and decode the underlying logic of the test.
Right.
Once you understand the mechanism behind a rule, you don't have to rely on rote memorization anymore.
The answers will just make sense.
Exactly.
So let's start with the logistics, because before you even touch a steering wheel, the state of Idaho subjects you to a very strict set of numerical thresholds, beginning with your age and your residency.
Bureaucracy of it all.
Oh, yeah. So you can start the licensing process at 15 years old. However, if you are under 17, the state requires you to complete an approved driver's training program and go through the graduated driver's license program.
Yeah, and that term graduated driver's license, or GDL, is really crucial to understand.
It's a big one.
The state doesn't just hand a 15-year-old the keys to the kingdom. A GDL phases in driving privileges over time.
So it limits the high-risk stuff.
Exactly. It limits high-risk situations like late-night driving or carrying multiple teenage passengers. And they do that to statistically reduce crash rates while the new driver builds actual, behind-the-wheel experience.
It mitigates the risk while you learn. Now, if you are an adult moving into Idaho from another state, you don't deal with the GDL, but the clock is ticking immediately.
Oh, yes, it is.
You have exactly 30 days to apply for your Idaho license.
And states are incredibly strict about that 30-day window. It really comes down to jurisdiction and taxation.
They want their money.
They do. They need accurate databases for vehicle registration, insurance liability, local infrastructure funding. You just cannot coast on your out-of-state ID indefinitely.
And when you do go in to apply, you are aiming for what the manual calls a Class D license.
Class D, yeah.
To break that jargon down, Class D is simply the bureaucratic designation for your standard, everyday passenger vehicle. You aren't driving a commercial semi-truck or a motorcycle.
Just a regular car.
Right. And the fee structure for this Class D license is highly specific. If you are 17 or 20 years old, you can get a one-year license for $20. Otherwise, it scales up.
Let me guess. It gets pricey.
A bit. It's $30 for a 3-year, $35 for a 4-year, and $60 for an 8-year license.
There's also a great little detail hidden in the administrative section that acts as a good mental anchor.
Oh, what's that?
The state offers a $5 discount if you renew that license online in the future.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they actively want to incentivize keeping people out of the physical DMV lines.
I mean, I appreciate any system that pays me to stay on my couch, but eventually you do have to go in and take the actual exams, which brings us to the most important numbers in this first section, the scoring parameters.
This is where people get nervous.
Rightfully so. The written knowledge test costs $5 and consists of 40 questions. You are allowed to miss up to 6 questions.
6 misses.
Got it. Then the physical skills test costs $35. And fun fact, that's split. $6.50 goes to the county, and up to $28.50 goes to your examiner.
That's oddly specific.
Very. And on that practical driving test, you are allowed to make up to 12 errors. So it's like a video game. You have 6 lives on the written test and 12 lives on the driving test.
I love that analogy because those numbers, allowing 6 written errors and 12 practical errors, they often confuse people.
Why is that?
Well, they wonder why the state isn't demanding perfection before handing over a license. But what's fascinating here is you have to view the DMV's grading system like a structural load limit on a bridge.
Wait, the structural load limit?
Think about it. A bridge can handle a certain amount of stress, wind, weight, all without compromising its integrity.
Right.
The state knows that a new driver is going to make minor mistakes. A slight hesitation at a stop sign, or maybe forgetting a highly specific, obscure rule.
Sure, human error.
Exactly. The test allows for those minor stress fractures. But once you miss that 7th question on the written test, or make that 13th error on the driving
You
test,
have gone too far.
you have crossed the mathematical threshold from making a normal human mistake to demonstrating a fundamental structural collapse in your road knowledge.
Wow.
At that point, the bridge fails,
Yeah.
and you become a liability to public safety.
That reframes the pressure completely. They are grading your baseline risk tolerance, not your ability to be flawless.
Exactly.
So let's put that to the test. We're going to do a yield question for you right now.
Let's do it.
Imagine you are sitting at the DMV computer, you finish your 40 questions, and the screen says you failed. Based on those load limits we just talked about, what is the required waiting period before you can retest, and how many questions are you mathematically allowed to miss on your second attempt?
You have to consider the system's built-in cooling-off period here.
Right. The manual dictates you must wait exactly 3 days to try again and pay that $5 fee a second time, and you are still allowed to miss up to 6 questions.
So moving from the administrative limits, we have to look at how the manual dictates the physical limits of the vehicle itself.
Yes, the measurements.
The test heavily evaluates your spatial awareness and your vehicle preparation, often down to fractions of an inch.
And the physical dimensions section of this handbook is genuinely intimidating. It starts before you even open the car door with the vehicle inspection.
Right, the walk around.
Your tire tread must be at least 232 of an inch. Not 116th, which is mathematically equivalent, but 232.
They are very specific with that fraction.
And if you run studded snow tires, the manual explicitly forbids them from May 1st to September 30th.
Well, the studded tire ban is a perfect example of applied physics.
How so?
Those metal studs are often made of tungsten carbide, which is, incredibly hard. In the winter, they punch into the ice to give you traction.
Right, which is great for snow.
But in the summer, when the asphalt heats up and softens, those same studs act like thousands of tiny hammers tearing up the road surface.
Oh, wow. I never thought about that.
Yeah, they create these deep ruts in the highway, which then fill with water during summer storms. And that dramatically increases the risk of hydroplaning for everyone else.
So your winter safety mechanism becomes a summer public hazard.
Exactly.
And speaking of safety mechanisms, once you are inside the car, the manual dictates your hand placement on the steering wheel must be at 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock.
Which is a big change.
It completely overwrites the classic 10 and 2 advice that older generations were taught.
Yeah, and that shift is entirely driven by the evolution of automotive technology, specifically airbags.
Oh, right.
An airbag deploys at roughly 200 miles per hour in a fraction of a second.
That's violent.
Very. If your hands are resting high up at the 10 and 2 positions, that explosive deployment will launch your own hands and arms directly into your face.
Ouch.
Yeah, causing severe fractures. Dropping your grip to 9 and 3 keeps your arms clear of the deployment zone.
It is fascinating how the rules evolve alongside the engineering.
It really is.
But let's talk about the geometry of parking, because this is where the measurements get incredibly rigid. When you are parallel parking during your skills test, you must position your vehicle 18 inches or less from the curb.
18 inches.
The manual clearly states that being more than 18 inches away while impeding traffic is a critical driving error.
Instant fail.
Yep, the examiner will fail you on the spot.
18 inches can feel like an arbitrary number to pull out of thin air, but it serves a very specific geometric purpose.
Like what?
Well, a standard traffic lane is only so wide. If you park 24 or 30 inches from the curb, the driver's side of your vehicle physically bleeds into the active lane.
Right, you're sticking out.
That 18-inch limit is the mathematical buffer zone. It ensures you can open your car door without getting sideswiped by a passing delivery truck or hitting a cyclist in the adjacent bike lane.
I always wondered why it wasn't just park as close as you can. They are establishing a strict boundary line. And the measurements for railroad crossings follow a similar logic, but on a much larger scale. The rule is that you must stop within 50 feet, but absolutely no less than 15 feet from the nearest rail.
Which is another survival equation hidden in plain sight.
Tell me more about that.
Trains are significantly wider than the tracks they run on. This is called the dynamic envelope.
The dynamic envelope.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stopping no less than 15 feet back mathematically guarantees the front bumper of your car is entirely clear of that overhang zone, even if the train leans slightly.
Wow. And the 50 feet.
On the other end, Stopping within 50 feet ensures your vehicle is close enough to the tracks that you still maintain a clear, unobstructed visual cone to look left and right for oncoming trains. If you stop 100 feet back, trees and buildings block your line of sight.
It is a highly engineered sweet spot.
It is.
So let's run a yield question based on those specific physical boundary.
Okay, listener, get ready.
Picture yourself taking the road portion of your exam. The examiner instructs you to pull over and parallel park between two vehicles. You maneuver in, you put the car in park, but you feel like you might be a little wide. What is the absolute maximum distance you can be from that curb before the examiner marks a critical error and ends the test?
Remember that buffer zone preventing you from bleeding into traffic.
The answer is 18 inches. Anything beyond that, and your safety buffer vanishes.
So we have established the invisible geometry, the 18 inches, the 15 feet.
Right.
But the manual also demands mastery over the highly visible geometry of the road. The traffic signs and signals are specifically engineered to manipulate human attention.
And this is a section that notoriously trips up test takers, specifically because of the no passing zone sign.
Oh, yeah. That one's tricky.
Most warning signs are shaped like diamonds and placed on the right side of the road. But the no passing sign is completely unique. It is shaped like a sideways pennant.
Yeah.
And more importantly, it is placed on the far left side of the highway.
Which contradicts almost all our ingrained driving habits. I mean, in North America, we drive on the right.
Right.
Our speed limits, stop signs, exit warnings, they're all anchored to the right shoulder.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Putting a critical warning sign on the opposite side of the road feels like a trick designed to make you fail. Like, if I'm driving in the right lane, why would I look left for a warning?
It sounds counterintuitive until you analyze the psychology of a driver preparing to pass.
Okay, walk me through it.
Imagine you are stuck behind a slow-moving semi-truck on a two-lane highway. You want to pass, so what is the very first thing your brain commands your eyes to do?
You lean out a bit and look past the truck down the oncoming lane to see if anyone is coming toward you.
Precisely. Your eyes naturally track across the center line to the left.
Oh.
If the highway engineers placed the no passing sign on the right shoulder, it would be completely obscured by the semi-truck you're trying to pass. Or it would just fall outside your primary visual cone.
That makes so much sense.
By using a unique pennant shape and placing it on the left shoulder, the state is intentionally breaking the standard visual pattern to intercept your gaze exactly where you were already looking.
That is brilliant design. They aren't trying to trick you. They are literally putting the answer where your eyes are already searching.
Exactly.
And the manual applies that same level of visual engineering to colors. School zones and pedestrian crossings don't use standard yellow. They use a highly specific fluorescent yellow-green.
Yeah, and that specific wavelength of fluorescent yellow-green aligns perfectly with the peak sensitivity of the human eye.
Really?
Yes, particularly in low-light conditions like dawn or dusk, which is exactly when children are walking to and from school.
Wow.
It triggers an involuntary alertness response in your brain before you even consciously read the sign.
The manual also highlights specific intersection signals, and there is one term you absolutely need to know for the test: the doghouse signal.
It is a highly descriptive name for a very specific piece of hardware.
It really is. A doghouse signal is a traffic light cluster shaped like a little house with a peaked roof.
Like Snoopy's house.
Exactly. But beyond the shape, it operates in a unique way. It clusters 5 different lenses together. It has your standard red, yellow, and green lights for going straight, but it also contains a green arrow and a yellow arrow specifically for turning left.
Right.
When that yellow arrow lights up, it means your protected left turn is ending.
The engineering benefit of the doghouse shape is that it allows traffic planners to provide a dedicated left turn signal without having to hang a massive, structurally heavy 5-light vertical pole over the intersection.
It's just more compact.
Right, saves space while separating the signals, and that ties directly into another vital signal you must know: the flashing yellow arrow.
The flashing yellow arrow is crucial. If you are in a turn lane and see a flashing yellow arrow, it means turns are permitted, but you do not have the right of way.
You have to wait.
Right, you must yield to all oncoming traffic and any pedestrians in the crosswalk before you execute the turn.
Test designers love the flashing yellow arrow because it cannot be memorized as a simple stop or go command.
It's situational.
Exactly. It forces the driver to actively assess the environment and make a judgment call.
Let's test that visual processing right now for our listener.
Another yield question.
Yep. Imagine driving down a rural 2-lane highway. You are getting frustrated behind a slow tractor, and you start looking for an opportunity to accelerate around them. Suddenly, you spot a yellow, pennant-shaped sign posted in the dirt on the far left side of the road. What specific rule is that sign enforcing?
Think about why your eyes drifted over there in the first place.
The answer is, it is a no pascapone. Your visual cone intercepted the warning just in time.
Perfect.
Now, for this final section, we need to take all these static numbers, boundaries, and signs and put them into dynamic motion.
This is the real test.
This is what the manual calls the rules of the road, which comprises the bulk of the situational questions on your exam.
This is where we transition from theory to applied physics. You have to synthesize everything we've discussed into real-world scenarios.
A perfect example is practice test question number 4, which covers the school bus rule.
Oh, people mess this one up all the time.
They really do. The baseline rule is obvious. If a school bus stops and flashes its red lights, you stop. However, the manual specifies a major exception. You do not have to stop for a school bus if you are traveling in the opposite direction on a highway that has 4 or more lanes.
And the rationale here is deeply practical.
Why is that?
If a road has 4 lanes, it is wide enough that school districts will not route children to cross it on foot.
Ah.
The kids will just be dropped off on the side they live on. Furthermore, forcing 2 lanes of opposing high-speed highway traffic to suddenly slam on their brakes creates a massive chain reaction rear-end collision risk.
So it's actually safer not to stop.
Exactly. The state weighs the risks and determines the safest action is to keep the opposing lanes moving.
Then we have U-turns. The handbook strictly prohibits U-turns over any solid pavement marking in the center of the road.
Simple enough.
And passing on the right side of another vehicle has incredibly narrow parameters. On a 2-lane, 2-way road, passing on the right is only legal if the vehicle in front of you is actively turning left, and you can pass them without your tires ever leaving the paved surface.
That pavement rule is vital. You cannot use the dirt shoulder to pass.
Never.
The shoulders are often unstable, littered with debris, or just lacking the structural integrity to handle a high-speed maneuver.
It'll pull you right off the road.
Yeah, which can easily throw your car into a spin. You have to wait for the turning car to clear the lane.
But out of all the rules in the July 2025 handbook, the most overarching concept is found in practice test question 13, the basic speed law.
This is the big one.
The manual clearly states that the law is not simply to drive the posted speed limit. The legal requirement is to drive at a speed that is reasonable and prudent at all times.
It is the ultimate catch-all regulation.
So, what does this all mean? I struggle with this because it sounds entirely subjective.
It does sound that way.
We just spent this entire deep dive analyzing an exam that evaluates you on 232 of an inch of tire tread and exactly 18 inches of parking distance. How can a test built on rigid mathematical absolutes also grade you on a vague philosophical feeling of being reasonable?
It is a brilliant contrast, actually. These strict measurements are the baseline for normal, optimal conditions.
Okay.
But the phrase reasonable and prudent is an acknowledgement by the state that the real world is chaotic. A metal speed limit sign cannot read the weather.
That makes sense. The sign says 65, but the sign doesn't know it's snowing.
Exactly right. Driving 65 miles an hour in a 65 zone is a traffic violation if the road is covered in black ice.
Because it's no longer reasonable.
Because it has ceased to be prudent. To satisfy this law, the manual expects you to constantly run a mental algorithm they call SIPD. Scan, identify, predict, decide. Yes. You scan the environment continuously. You identify a potential hazard, such as dense fog rolling in. You predict that the fog will drastically reduce your visibility and increase the time it takes to stop.
Right.
And finally, you decide to reduce your speed to 40 miles per hour, well below the posted limit, to regain your safety buffer. Reasonable and prudent means running that SIPD algorithm every single second you are behind the wheel.
The strict rules tell you what you are allowed to do, but prudence dictates what physics will actually let you survive.
Beautifully said.
Let's run one final scenario to test that situational awareness for the listener.
The final yield question.
You are driving in the left lane of a busy 4-lane highway, 2 lanes traveling your direction, 2 opposing lanes on the other side. Up ahead, in the opposing lanes, a school bus comes to a halt, extends its stop sign, and flashes its red lights. Do you apply your brakes and stop your vehicle?
Process the physical layout of the environment.
The answer is no. Because you are traveling the opposite direction on a 4-lane highway, you maintain your speed and proceed with caution.
If you can consistently apply that level of situational logic, The test becomes significantly less intimidating.
And that is exactly what we set out to do today. We have essentially built you an audio cheat sheet for the July 2025 Idaho Driver's Handbook.
You are ready for this?
You know your structural load limits, 6 written errors and 12 driving errors. You understand the invisible geometry of 232 of an inch on your tires and that 18-inch safety buffer from the curb.
You know why the pennant sign sits on the left side of the road to catch your eye?
And you understand that SIPD is the algorithm that keeps you reasonable and prudent. Keep these scenarios in mind, and you're going to walk into the DMV ready to dominate this exam.
You have the mechanics down. But as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a different perspective to consider the next time you are out on the road.
What's that?
Throughout the manual, driving is repeatedly categorized as a task. It demands constant, active, defensive communication. You are signaling your geometry, negotiating space, and projecting your intentions to strangers at high speeds.
It is the furthest thing from passive transportation.
It truly is. So the very next time you are sitting in the passenger seat of a car, I want you to silently observe the driver.
Watch what they're doing.
Watch them run the SIPD algorithm in real time. Notice how they intuitively judge that 18-inch curb distance, or how their eyes naturally track left before passing.
Oh, that's a cool experiment.
Think about the hundreds of micro-calculations they are performing unconsciously every minute just to maintain that safety buffer.
Yeah.
When you view it through that lens, driving stops looking like a mundane daily chore.
It's so much more than that.
It reveals itself as a highly complex, synchronized social dance with thousands of other people, and it is a dance that you are fully prepared to officially